So, I suppose in keeping with where I was yesterday and the day before, I should talk about the third appeal today, the appeal to ethics. Basically, this appeal um, suggests that there is a right way to do something, and you can appeal to the rightness of that thing. So, for instance, a general principle of something like this might be, say, do no harm. Okay? And so you might make an argument dealing with abortion, making the claim that to not allow abortion causes real harm to young women who perhaps have become pregnant without their consent, or women whose pregnancies are not going to be carried to term. That there is no social good in denying these women a right to terminate those pregnancies, and there is a good in allowing them to do so. On the other hand, a conservative might make the argument that fetuses also have rights, and therefore no social good is practiced by allowing abortion of a viable fetus, since that fetus has done no wrong and deserves its chance to life. Now, I'm not here to preach one side or the other and say which side is right and which side is wrong. I have my opinion. I'm pro-choice, but that's not the point. The point is that this appeal to ethics really isn't an emotional appeal. You don't necessarily have to feel for the women. You don't necessarily have to feel for the fetus to understand that general sense of women and men deserve equal rights, and perhaps for some people, the unborn deserve equal rights with the born. Now, like I said, I've got my position, but it's not. This appeal is not meant to be emotional. It's not meant to be logical necessarily. It's meant to be ethical. And okay, now these things overlap. Obviously, they overlap. You can obviously tell a story of a young woman who has been abused and has wound up pregnant, and use both the ethical appeal that no good is served by her carrying her abuser's child to term, as well as a emotional appeal to the fact that this young woman doesn't deserve to have her entire life destroyed and altered in this drastic way of having a child by an attack by some predator. I for one find those kind of arguments compelling, but not everybody does. Obviously, this is where a pro-life person might suggest adoption. And, well, this is one of the things where you have to bring things to the real world. Okay, how does adoption actually work in the real world? Do the children of rape get adopted? Do these children suffer? Do they have good lives? Don't know. I don't know. But if you were going to make that argument, that would be something which I would suggest you should know. I would not make that argument because I do not think that it is just to force a woman to carry a child to term that she has no intention of keeping and that she would rather terminate. People disagree. And, for what it's worth, that's what we vote for. But the problem comes in, of course, when the two sides dissemble, when they don't tell the truth about circumstances. For instance, before any action was taken by conservatives to limit abortions before Roe v. Wade was shot down, what percentage of abortions were done in the third trimester, and why were they done? Very, very, very few abortions are done in the third trimester, and with almost no exceptions, they were done because the pregnancy was not viable. There was almost no reason to otherwise do an abortion in the third trimester because, let's face facts, women have time to figure this out. And in the first 3 months, the first 6 months, most women who are pregnant have made the kinds of life choices that either allow them to raise a child successfully, or they've made decisions to get rid of the child. Okay, this is not, this is not like a last-minute decision. This is not to say that women can't wait and make the decision later. I think they have every right to make the decision later. It's their decision to make. But just in practical reality, having a child requires prep. If it's your first child, you've got all kinds of baby care stuff to buy. You have room to prepare. You have to perhaps think about adjusting your schedule. How are you going to afford this child? You may have to start figuring out how to arrange for things like childcare. The list is endless of things that one has to do. In addition to going to all the prenatal things and all the, the birthing stuff and all of that. So I'm nowhere near an expert. I've never had a child. I've never been around someone who is pregnant that closely. But even I know there's a massive amount of preparation. And women don't just sit around and do nothing. They start making these preparations when they discover that they're pregnant. And they discover that within a month, maybe 2 months, maybe, 3 months at the most. I don't really know exactly. That's not my area of expertise by any means. But well before any sort of birth. And so, if a woman is starting to make those preparations and, preparing a room for the baby and looking around, getting baby clothes and maybe getting a baby shower together with her friends and, dealing with issues of, okay, does she have enough income? Is the father involved? Is the father not involved? Do they want to if the father is involved, do they want to make some kind of commitment? Is there somebody else who might want to make a commitment to be with her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, all these decisions going on, okay, those aren't the decisions somebody makes who wants to terminate their baby. Someone wants to terminate their baby makes only the plans to go to the clinic. That's the plan that they make. So when someone starts making those kinds of plans and they start dreaming about their life with their baby and raising this child, and then they lose that child, the pregnancy becomes unviable at some point, or they're told that it's going to be stillborn, or it's going to miscarriage naturally anyway, any of the very numerous complications that could mean that they're not going to have a healthy baby. That woman doesn't just decide, oh, I am therefore going to, quote, kill my baby. No, they grieve. They grieve over the life that they're not going to get to raise that's already traumatic for them. So when they go and are told, no, you've got to carry this hunk of dead flesh through to birth, it's just straightforwardly insulting. There's no two ways about it. It's just straightforwardly insulting. It makes a situation that is painful even more painful. So, the conservatives who have this point of view are not living in the real world in which people make real decisions. Almost nobody makes preparations to have a child and then somewhere in the 9th month decides, you know what, I don't want this child, let's just abort it. I'm not going to say that never happens. I'm sure it does happen on occasion, but I can say pretty firmly, almost never. The vast majority of these late-term abortions are tragedies for the parents, absolute tragedies. And to treat them as some kind of political hot potato is just insulting and frankly wrong. You know, like I said, I'm not really trying to tell anybody what to say and think about abortion. I don't really. I mean, we go to the ballot box and we vote. Okay, but these blanket bans do more harm than good, because we've got to have some kind of method for those women who legitimately need to end an unviable pregnancy, to get something out of their body that is actually at this point dangerous to them and serves no purpose, like a cancer, out. It's sad, it's tragic, it's not how we normally think of a baby, I get it, but that's exactly what it is, and it has to get out. And by making it so they can't, all we're doing is unduly burdening women. So that's the ethical appeal. The right thing to do is to do no harm. And are you doing more harm by an absolute ban on abortion? I would say yes. Are you doing more harm through open elective abortion? Okay. As a matter of compromise, I would accept that as a possibility, that a cutoff of some sort would be a reasonable compromise. I can accept that. And I believe, although I don't want to speak for everyone, I believe the vast majority of people who are pro-choice would also accept that as a reasonable compromise. You know, limited abortion in the third trimester, maybe even no elective abortion in the third trimester. People who are pro-choice are okay with this as a compromise, as a way of trying to meet those people they disagree with part way. However, people who are conservative have, for some reason, decided that they're going to reach no compromise. That's not a very democratic position. That's not a very open-minded position. That's not a very workable position. And like I said, I think it's a position that causes harm, real-world harm, that is not necessary to cause. All right. Well, enough of that. Talk to you later.